Hack the planet! Hack the planet!
Shut up and get
Hello everybody and welcome. I am the Shy Hat and this is HackerFrogs. Alright everybody, so we've got two main topics we're going to be covering today. The first topic we're going to be covering is HackerFrogs After School Python Programming Basics, the Extra Edition. And that's going to be talking about how to write some simple scripts in Python in order to solve some CTF challenges. So this goes hand in hand with the previous Python workshop, which we did on Monday. and that one was talking about modules. So modules are a way for us to use outside libraries in our own code, and it's a very efficient and easy way to add a lot of functionality to our own Python scripts. All right, so, and the other activity we're going to be engaging in today is we're going to be talking about hacking history. So this is going to be a new segment where we're going to be talking about some famous hacks that have happened throughout history. And we're going to be doing some research about each one of these big hacks. And we're going to be recording it in a file, which we're going to be keeping on the HackerFrogs GitHub page. All right, so let's start off with our first activity. I see I don't have my mouse highlight tool engaged right now, so we're going to turn it on and let's get on with the show. So this is the first topic of 2. We're going to go on for about an hour, and then we're going to switch topics over to the hacking history portion. But right now we're doing Python programming. This workshop is an extra class for Intro to Python Programming. During our last workshop, we learned about a few programming concepts through Python, including the following, and what we learned about was modules and packages. So modules and packages are pre-written code that can be imported into Python files to add functionality. So basically, if you don't want to write your own code, you can import other people's code into your Python scripts and get instant functionality that way. So this is a great thing to do, but today we're going to be learning how to use specific Python modules in order to write scripts that will help us in solving CTF challenges. CTF challenges being capture the flag. And if you don't know what capture the flag is, they're cybersecurity challenges where you're using your cybersecurity skills to solve different problems. The first module that we're going to be using to solve the CTF challenges is the socket module. So the Python socket module can be used to connect to and interact with networking ports on remote servers. So this is a very common task that you'll see in CTF challenges, that is connecting to a specific port on a remote server and getting some response back from it, and maybe even sending data to that networking port in order to get a response back from it. Okay, so that's the first module we're going to be doing. And the second module we're going to be looking at is the Python requests module. So the requests module can be used to perform web requests and obtain data from websites. So if we want to write Python scripts which interact with files on the internet, we will definitely want to use the Python requests module. It's fairly straightforward, but we'll be taking a look at some of the functions from that module in just a bit. But the big question is we're going to be using the socket module and the request module to solve some challenges, but we need a venue, you could say, to conduct our practice. So where can we use a virtual machine that is web connected and that we're able to write Python on? Well, that's where picoctf comes in handy. So we can practice Python with a VM that is kind of internet connected. That's where picoctf saves the day. So when I say it's kind of internet connected, that's because picoctf virtual machines are only able to contact a limited number of servers. Most of them have to do with picoctf itself, but that is completely fine as far as our purposes are concerned. So let's use picoctf to practice solving CTF challenges with Python. So if you do not have an account over at picoctf.org, please navigate there and create an account over there. If you want to follow along with today's exercises, it is totally free to register an account over there, so you don't have to worry about forking over your hard-earned cash. It is, the service is completely free. Okay, so once you've arrived at the picoctf.org website, you'll want to open up a web shell. So when I was talking about using a VM in order to practice, this is what I mean. So over at picoctf.org, you can click on this button over in the corner here, and I'm going to click off of this just to demonstrate that. So you'll see, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there's this button right here labeled Web Shell. You'll want to click on that. So I already have a web shell open. I'm going to close that. So you want to click on this, and that's going to open up a web shell. And the way the web shell is by default is that it's going to be on top of whatever picoctf page that you're on. That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to pop this out into its own browser pane. So you'll want to click on this button right here. So after you've opened up your picoctf shell, click on this button, which is labeled Pop Out Web Shell Terminal, and that's going to create another browser tab which has your picoctf terminal. And then what you're going to need to do is you're going to enter your picoctf username and password. So if anybody here is currently creating their picoctf account and wants us to slow down a little bit, please type in the chat and we'll know to wait a little bit, or to maybe go a bit slower so that you can take a little bit of time to create your picoctf account. But to anybody who is looking to get into beginner's cybersecurity, picoctf.org is a great website for learning beginner's cybersecurity skills. And I highly recommend creating an account and doing some learning over there. All right, so we need to enter our picoctf username and password. I'm going to grab my picoctf password from my password manager program. So I need to go over to my password manager, and password managers are great. Just as a side note, picoctf, I'm going to look that up. And I'm going to copy the password. And now I'm going to enter my picoctf password. The username is the Shy Hat. And the password is going to be hidden when we paste it in. Remember, in a Linux terminal, which what this is, you definitely want to press Control-Shift-V in order to paste in your password. As it says over here, the characters will be hidden, so you're not going to see the password when you paste it in. Press Enter, and then we will be logged in. So the picoctf terminal over here is it lets us have a space to work on challenges. And as you can see here, I've created a bunch of different folders for all of the different challenges that I've been participating in. So what you'll want to do after you've arrived here is you want to create your own folder, your own directory to solve this challenge. So the challenge is called GlitchCat. So I'm going to create a folder called GlitchCat using the following Linux command, make dir glitchcat, and then I can enter that by using the cd command. Okay, so here we are. So a nice empty directory. So the first thing we'll want to do is we'll want to create a Python file. So we don't know what the challenge is right now. We should probably take a look. I guess because our goal is to solve the challenge using the Python script. So let's go over to the Python webpage, and we'll see that this challenge over here, GlitchCat, is right here. Click on it. And then we'll see that the challenge description appears. This challenge is called GlitchCat, and the description says, our flag printing service has started glitching. Additional details will be available after launching your challenge instance. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to click on this button right here, which is labeled Launch Instance, and that's going to start up the virtual machine that's associated with this challenge. So this is the virtual machine that we're going to be communicating with using our Python script. So click on Launch Instance. And the great thing about picoctf virtual machines is that they start up very, very quickly, and you're not going to have to wait a long time to start interacting with it. So we see here that after the VM has started, it says instance time remaining. It says 14 minutes. I guess it starts at 15 minutes. And so these virtual machines only exist for a limited amount of time. If you need to restart it because you've run out of time, you can click on this button right here, which is labeled Restart Instance. But otherwise, it's given us a little command we could use to interact with the machine over here. This command over here uses netcat. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for everybody to see. Okay, so this is definitely bigger. So it says, so this command right here is netcat, but we're going to be using an alternate method. Instead of netcat, we're going to be using Python to solve this challenge. And then it has the name of a server over here, saturn.picoctf.net. And then it has a networking port to communicate on over here. So we're going to be communicating on this server at this networking port, but we're going to be using the Python sockets module to do so. We're not going to be using netcat over here. So let's learn how. Let's go back to our web shell. And in our web shell, in our glitchcat connect directory over here, we're going to create a Python file. So there's nothing here. We're going to create the Python file with the nano text editor. So it's nano, and then we're going to call this glitchcat.py. So this is glitchcat.py. So what is this Python script going to do? The Python script is going to connect to the networking port that was specified in the challenge at the server that was outlined on the challenge page over there. And what it's going to do, it's going to get information from the networking port, and then it's going to save that information, that data, over to a file, and it's going to display the information that was retrieved. And that's all it's going to do. So let's take a look at what code we would need to write in order to do that. So I've got some notes over here. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to import the socket module. So import socket. So a nice thing about the nano text editor here is that it's color coded so that you can see certain keywords colored in a different color in order to highlight them. So we're going to import the socket module, and then we're going to give some variables. So first of all, we need our server, and so our server in this case is going to be saturn.picoctf.net, and this is a string. We're going to copy this, and then we're going to go back to our terminal. We're going to paste this in, and that is the server variable. It's going to be used in a few different places, but we need to make sure that we have our variables all set up before we start writing our code. Next, we're going to need our port, and our port is going to be some input. So we're going to use the int function, and then we're going to ask for input from the user. And the input we're going to ask from the user is, what is the networking port? Okay, so what is the networking port? If you take a look over here, the networking port that was assigned to me was 65363, but I'm pretty sure that anybody else who does this exercise is going to receive a random port number, probably inside of a certain range, but random nonetheless. So we can't necessarily plug this number into our script because it might change in a few minutes. Okay, so Our variable port is the integer of the input. What is the networking port? And we're going to input that when we run the script. And we have one more variable to fill out, and that's going to be output file. Output file. And this is the name of the file we're going to create to record the data we get from the networking socket. Okay, and then we're going to call this glitchcat.txt. So this is the file we're going to create when we run the script. All right, so with these three variables named, we're going to create a function. So we're going to create a function that connects to the server on a certain port. So this one is going to be called connect to server. And we're going to supply some variables inside of our parentheses here. It's going to be server, it's going to be port, and it's going to be output file. And this is going to be a code block, which means we definitely need to include a colon at the end of this line. So remember, because we're writing inside of a code block, anything inside of the code block has to be indented. So that's how Python does code blocks. They do indentation. So indentation can be any number of spaces for each indent, as long as the number of indents throughout the script are the same number of indents. So I do 2 spaces because this makes it nice and easy to read for me. You might not see it that way, so you can, I mean, if you don't have your own preference, I would suggest 2 spaces as your indent. All right, so after this, we're going to create a little comment, and we're going to say that this is the code that creates the socket object. So we have to create a socket object first in order to use the socket module, and we do it in this way. So we're going to say client socket. So client socket is the name of the variable, is the name of the object rather, and that's going to be equal to socket.socket. And this is initializing a certain type of object from the socket module. Socket.af underscore inet, comma, socket.sock stream. Okay, so this is the type of socket object we're creating right here, and we need to look out for typos because I write a lot of typos, and sometimes my scripts don't work because I'm committing these typos. All right, so let's see what is next for us. So after we've created the object over here, what we need to do is we need to do a little try exception block over here. And what this is a way of handling errors in case, because what we're going to do is we're going to try to connect to the networking port, and we want to make sure that we handle our errors in a graceful way. So this is what the try except block is for. So we're going to do try, and this is the command that's going to connect to the server. So this is where we have to be very careful about giving the right number of indents as far as what we do when we write our code. So client socket. So client socket, if you remember, is the name of this object right here. We're going to be doing some stuff with that. We're going to use the method connect. And this is going to be on the server and the port. And then we're going to print a little message. And that message is going to be connected to server on port. Okay, so this is how we get a little bit of output from our program, which is definitely something we like to see in order to, so we know that that it's working properly. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our output file over here. So that's going to be done with this code right here. So open output file in write mode. So the following code is going to open the output file in write mode, and that is with open as file. And so what we're doing is we're opening a file with the program, and that's going to be with open, and inside the parentheses here is going to be output file WB, and this is the mode that it's working inside. So WB stands for write binary, so it's binary writing mode. And then we're going to do a little true loop while true. And so basically this is an infinite loop that we need to specify, where we have to specify how it breaks out of the loop inside of its instructions over here. So the next instruction is going to receive data from the server, and that's going to be data equals client socket dot receive, and we're going to receive a certain number of bytes from the socket. In this case, it's going to be 1024 bytes. And the next line is going to break the loop if no more data is received. Okay, so break the loop if no more data is received. So this if not data. So if not data means if data is empty. So if there's nothing inside of data, if it is false, then do something. And this is the instruction that it's going to do. It's going to break. So break means break out of the loop. And then the next instruction is going to write the data. Write the received data to the file. And that's going to be file.write. And what does it write? It writes the data. And then we need to print a little message. Print received data to the console. And that's going to be print data.decode. And we have to specify an encoding over here, and in this case it's going to be UTF-8 encoding. Alright, so after all of that, we're going to print data successfully recorded. Okay, so let's do that. That's going to be outside of the it's going to be on the same level as the with open as file code over there. So it's going to be print data successfully recorded in output file. Okay, so I hope I'm going to look over the code for just a little bit to make sure I didn't do any typos. Okay, so the next portion is going to be writing the exception. So the exception is going to be on the same level as the try. So I just want to make sure that, so try is accept exception as E, and then print an error occurred, and then and then inside of that we do E, and then finally is the last thing that happens inside of this loop, regardless of whether or not there was any exceptions or errors. So finally, we're going to client socket dot close. So we're going to close the socket at the end of the loop. At the end of this execution over here. Okay? So that is the end of this function definition. So this is all part of this function right here, connect to server. And the last thing we need to do inside of the script is we need to invoke the function. So invoke the function connect to server, and then we need to supply the arguments, and those are going to be server, port, and output file. Okay, so this is the entire script. If you wanted to take a look at the script in its entirety, it can be accessed from the HackerFrogs GitHub repository, and let me point out where we can find it. It's going to be at CTF documents, and this one I put inside of the scripts directory in the general folder, and this one is called connect.py. So I will leave the link to that script if you want to take a look at it. Okay, so now that we have our script written, we're going to save this out, and in order to save this inside of the Nano text editor, it's Control X to save, or it's Control X to exit. It's going to ask you save modified buffer, press Y for yes, and file name to write, just press enter, and that should be it. So for the next step, actually running the script, we're going to need the networking port. So we're going to go back to the picoctf. Oh, it's not running anymore. We need to launch it again. So I'm going to launch it again. So this is why I left the networking port as something to be input. So we have a different networking port this time. So I'm going to copy the number, and then we're going to go back to our web shell, and we're going to run this script using Python. So it's python glitchcat.py, and it's going to ask what is the networking port. So we just copied the networking port, so we're going to paste it in, and then run the script. Okay, so it says, so this is what we got from the networking port. So picoctf glitch me something something, and then we get a bunch of these characters right here. So this is a function inside of Python. So in Python, if you were to run this, you would get a certain character. So, and it also says data successfully recorded in glitchcat.txt. So if we take a look at the contents of our directory here, we've got a record of what we got from the networking port inside this file right here. If we were to cap this out, we can retrieve this information as well. Okay, so one interesting thing right here is that it looks like this could be inputted in a print string in Python. So we've got our online python.com webpage that we like to use to play around with Python code. So as usual, I'll provide the link to the chat. So once you arrive at this page, you can delete all the code that's already here. And what we can do is you can highlight all of this right here. And we can paste this into the online Python code window. So what we would do to solve this exercise is to simply print this. So we can just use the print, and we can wrap this up in parentheses, because what this chr function does is that it allows you to print out the character that is associated with the hexadecimal code that you put inside of the argument right here. So chr hex 62 over here is associated with a certain ASCII character. So if you were to, so there's just a bunch of different ASCII characters right here that we can print out using the print function right here. Click run, and we get the flag. So it's basically encoding each one of these, it's basically hiding each one of these characters in here inside of this, inside of these functions. So this is the flag we need to provide to solve the challenge. So I think we can copy this, copy to clipboard, and then we can go back to the POCTF challenge. And then on the challenge page, we can go down, and in the flag submission field, we see that we've copied a lot. We just need to delete everything that isn't the flag for the challenge, and then click on Submit Flag. Okay. All right. So if if you managed to successfully solve the challenge using our Python code, or helping out with having our Python code help out, please type glitch cat in the chat, and maybe add some cool cat emotes like the ones that we can use on Twitch, just like that. Okay, so we're going to move on to using another module in Python to solve some challenges. That's going to be the request module. So over here on the Python page, sorry, not the Python page, the PicoCTF page, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the web exploitation category, and we're going to go to, let's try unminify. So this is the unminify challenge. I'm going to paste in the challenge page in the chat for everybody to use. So the first thing we need to do is we need to read about the challenge over here. It says, I don't like scrolling down to read the code of my website, so I've squished it. As a bonus, my pages load faster. Additional details will be available after launching your challenge instance. So over here it says launch instance. We can create a little web page inside of a virtual machine by clicking on this button here. But first we're going to create our challenge environment by going back to the terminal here, and we're going to back out of this directory with cd ... and then we're going to create our challenge directory. So we're going to make directory, and this is unminify. And then we're going to enter that directory. And then we're going to go back to the PicoCTF challenge page and click on launch instance. Okay, so it says browse here and find the flag. So what we need to do is we need to take note of this link right here. So before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to write our script. So we can do that with the following command. We're going to use the nano text editor, and we're going to nano unminify.py. Okay, so what this script is going to do is it's going to retrieve the contents of the web page and then save that out to a file. So what we need to do, first of all, is we need to import the module we're going to use, and that's going to be requests. So as I mentioned before, the request module allows you to interact with web content. So you can get web pages, you can post to web pages, and you can do some other things. So what we're going to be doing with this script is we're simply going to be getting the contents of the web page, and we're going to be saving that to a file. So the first thing we need to do is we need to define our URL, and URL is going to be the input. Input the desired URL. So this is what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to input our personal, the URL that was created for us, which we can get over here. So this the link that this leads to is going to be different for everybody. I've decided to write it like this in order so everybody can just paste in their URL, and that's going to be a lot less of a hassle than hard coding it here. Because if we hard code it here, there's a possibility that it could change from the time that we start writing this and when we're ready to run the script, which would be a bit of a pain in the butt. Okay, so the other variable we need to define is the output file. So here, the output file is going to be a string. We're going to call it webpage fetch.html. So this is what is going to be saved after. This is the file we're going to save all the information to. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is we need to start defining this function right here. So we're going to define fetch webpage, which is going to be a GET request, but we need to include the arguments, URL, and output file. Okay, so we're going to do another try block. So we're going to try sending the GET request to the desired URL, and that's going to be response equals to request.get URL. Okay, so we start writing variables like this in order to keep all of our information organized. If you have any questions about any of the code that we're writing, please type in the chat, and I'll try to answer your questions as soon as possible. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to raise an exception if the request is unsuccessful. Response.raise for status. And then the next line is going to write the content of the response to the output file. And this is going to be similar to the last script with open. Output file in write mode. Encoding is going to be equal to UTF-8. As file. We're going to write the file. response.text. And then we're going to print something. Web page content successfully recorded in output file. And the next part is going to be the exception, except requests dot exceptions dot request exception as E. Okay, so this is what happens if there's an error, and we're going to print an error occurred. So the last thing we need to do is we need to invoke this this function right here. So this is the definition of the function, this entire code block right here. The next thing we need to do is we need to actually invoke the function fetch web page with the arguments URL and output file. Okay, so if you want to take a look at this script yourself after the fact, we can do it inside of our CTF documents scripts directory right here in the HackerFrogs GitHub repository, and it's at web page fetch over here. I'll leave this link in the chat for everybody in case you want to access that. But otherwise, we'll go back to our terminal. Okay, so we need to save this out. So it's Control-X to exit, save modified buffer, yes. File name to write, and minify.py. Okay, so this is done. All right, so the last thing we need to do is we need to go over to the description over here, and our instance time is still going over here, so that's great. So there's the link right here. What we need to do is copy the link. So right click and copy link address, go back to the terminal, and then we're going to run the script. Input the desired URL, and we can just paste that in. And then it says web page content successfully recorded in web page fetch.html. All right, so let's cat that out. So this is this is typical web page content. You've got a bunch of HTML tags over here. So what we can do with all of this code right here is we can start searching for the picoctf the picoctf flag wrapper, and that's a certain string that all picoctf flags begin with. So that's going to be, I'm going to clear this. I'm going to cat the webpage fetch.html file, but I'm going to grep out something. So I'm going to grep for picoctf. So all of the picoctf flags begin with this string right here. And what we're going to be doing is searching the file contents for this particular string. So we run that. Okay, so picoctf, it highlights all of this over here so we can more easily see it. But we see that one of these picoctf flag wrappers also has the rest of the flag, which is this right here. So everybody, what we can do is we can just copy the contents of the flag, just like this. and then we can go back to the challenge page. Okay, I don't like scrolling down. Okay, we read this description already. If we scroll down in the challenge description, we can see that the flag submission field is just over here. Just paste in the contents of the flag and click on Submit Flag, and then we are done. Okay, so everybody, if you managed to finish this challenge, please type in I wrote a script in the chat. I wrote a script. And if you're on Twitch, you can use the PogChamp emote, which is an excited snake face. Okay, so that's so this is what I wanted to have everybody practice as far as your Python writing, script writing skills are concerned. I've provided the links for these two scripts. You can find them in this directory over here. Enoch Park wrote a script. Welcome, welcome, and nice to see you in the stream again. All right, so there's a lot of different ways we could use Python scripts to solve our challenges. Python scripts are great for solving CTF challenges, especially CTF challenges that require us to automate our tasks. But sometimes challenges will require some writing some complex mathematical equations or solving some questions, and it's not something that that is easily done without computers. So that's something that Python is really great at. But yeah, so what did we learn in this workshop? Well, we learned about two different libraries to help us with CTF challenges. We took a look at the socket challenge, the socket module, which is used for connecting to arbitrary networking ports. And we took a look at the requests module, which is used specifically for connecting to web pages. So these are two good libraries, and hopefully everybody got a little bit of practice using modules and writing with modules. We're going to be moving on with to our next activity in just a little bit. We've got a little bit of time, so if anybody has any questions about Python or writing scripts, please feel free to type in chat. Otherwise, I'll point out a couple of Python learning resources. So, like I said, I've been talking a lot about this one particular course inside of the Skills for All website. So this is the HackerFrogs subreddit, and I've been writing a bunch of different. I've been cataloging a lot of different resources for beginner cybersecurity skills, and this one in particular I've been talking a lot about. So I'd like to demonstrate to you this particular Python course right here from Skills for All. So I'm going to copy this, and yeah, you can take a look at it yourself if you like. I'm going to demonstrate what it looks like once you've entered the website. So let's go over and log in. So we're going to get started. So Cisco. So this Skills for All website is sponsored by This Skills for All website is sponsored by Cisco, which is a really big company. And we're going to get started. What I need to do is I need to Net Academy, my Skills for All website login. Okay, so let me grab that. Or I can log in with Google. Maybe I should log in with Google. Wait. I think I can do that. So I'm going to log in with Google, and I'm going to provide hold on while I log in, everybody. I'm sorry that you have to watch me do this. So it's going to be... And then I have to supply my password. Hold on. And then I'm going to have to log in on my device. Hold on. Okay, now I'm logged in. So I've got my Python Essentials 1 course over here, and I'm going to click on Resume Course. So there's some information about this over here. It says it's free, so anybody who wants to take this course, they can take it. If you're currently signed up for this course, please type Python Essentials in chat, because I'd like to know if anybody is actually using this course. Okay, and it also says that this course is going to take about 30 hours. And it says it's for beginners. It says that there are 30 labs and it's self-paced. Well, in fact, there are 2 of these courses. There's Python Essentials 1 and there's Python Essentials 2. Enoch Park is also taking this course. That's great to hear, because this is a great course in my opinion. The problem, well, I mean, the only so if you want to take advantage of a good course, you're going to have to put in the hours. It says here that this is a 30-hour course. The Python course, the Python crash course that we just did over at HackerFrogs, that was about 8 hours, or 8 or 9 hours. So it wasn't very long compared to this one. And Python Essentials 1, along with Python Essentials 2, is going to take about 60 hours. So you definitely have to spend some time when you're going through this course. So we're going to click on Resume Course. And then I'm going to go back to section 1 over here. Okay, so when you take the course over here, you're going to do a lot of clicking on arrows to resume the course and to work through. It starts with very simple instructions right here. How does a computer work? And it starts talking about the differences between natural languages versus programming languages. The great thing about this course is that there are a bunch of quizzes and interactive windows that you can work through while you're doing the course. It does a lot of explanation, which is great. I actually think this is probably the best Python. There are 1 or 2 things that this course doesn't do as well as some other courses, such as the ones over at Codecademy. So Codecademy also has a Python course, and they actually have a lot of good projects over there. So the one thing that this course over here doesn't have is great projects. But after you've taken this course, you could probably write your own projects. So it's so that's the big. This is a. I sound like such a broken record. I just say over and over again that I really like this course. But this is definitely the course you want to take if you want to continue on with your Python education. And if you want to test your skills, we could do a quick challenge over at what is the website called? It's called pythonprinciples.com. Okay, so let's try that. So the Python Principles Challenge. So there's a bunch of different challenges you can undertake on this at this website. So let's do the first one over here for fun. And this one is capital indexes. So what it wants you to do is it wants you to write a function named capital indexes. The function takes a single parameter, which is a string, and your function should return a list of all indexes in the string that have capital letters. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to create a function called capital indexes. So it's def capital underscore indexes. So the function takes a single parameter, which is a string. So, well, we're just going to say string in this case. So what does it need to do? It needs to return a list of indexes in the string that have capital letters. So what do we need to do for this challenge? We need to iterate over the characters in the string. We need to record string indexes. We need to check if the letters are capital or not. We need to write an if statement that appends to the index list if it is a capital letter. And we need to end the function. We need to end the function with a return statement that returns the list of the indexes. So the first thing we need to do in this challenge is we need to create a list called capital letter list. And that's going to be equal to an empty list. And then we need to write a for loop. So for x So we're going to be making use of a function right here, which is called enumerate. So the enumerate function in Python is going to I think it returns all of the letters in a string, and what we're going to do is we're going to if the current object is upper, and this is another function that is specific to strings. If it's true, if it is a capital letter, what we need to do is we need to append to the capital letter list. And then we need to return the capital letter list. And we need to make sure that all of the everything is spelled correctly in our code. Now we need to run the code. I think this is not right. Okay, so this is the correct indentation over here. So this is the for loop over here, and then at the end of the function, we need to return the capital letter list. So capital indexes, and we're going to use the string hello, HELOLO, which is the same as this right here, and we're going to run the code. It says your solution was correct, you have now completed the challenges. Okay, and at the end of the challenge over here is the great thing is that we can show example solutions that were submitted by other users. Oh, these are not submitted by other users. These are just the this is just the explanation of possible solutions. Okay, so here it demonstrates two different ways of achieving the same thing. So capital indexes. Oh, okay. In this case, they use this this list right here, which is a list of all of the uppercase letters in the alphabet. And what it does is that it compares the uppercase letters in the alphabet with each one of these things, each one of these letters in the string. Okay. All right, so everybody, that is it for our Python portion of the stream. The next activity we're going to do is we're going to move on into our hacking history portion of the stream where we're going to be doing a little bit of research on some famous hacks. But to everybody who came here for the Python script writing portion of the stream, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Enoch Park, who came by from Women's Society of Cyberjitsu. I think it was. Thank you very much. If you want to stick around and watch the hacking history portion, I very much appreciate that as well. All right. So we're going to switch gears. I'm going to start playing some music. Women's Society for Cyberjitsu. Yes, thank you very much. I did get that right. Okay. So what we're going to do for this portion of the stream is we're going to start playing some music, because I want this to be a little bit more, a little less formal than the first part of the stream. And then I need to change out my stream title a little bit. So I need to change out this right here. This is going to be the name of the hacks we're looking at, which is Colonial Pipeline and Sammy Worm. And then the bottom portion over here, I need to change this to hacking history. Okay, so everybody, welcome to the hacking history segment over here at HackerFrogs. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be answering some questions about some famous hacks. We've got two of them lined up tonight. There is the Colonial Pipeline hack from 2021, so that was 3 years ago, I think. And there's the Sammy Worm that took place on MySpace. MySpace is a big throwback. I personally didn't have a MySpace page, but a lot of people did. We're going to be answering the questions over at the HackerFrogs GitHub page. Where is that? It's over here. HackerFrogs, and then we're going to be doing our hacking history. And we're going to be editing this file over here called colonialpipeline.md. So to everybody in chat, if you want to take a look at the questions we're going to be answering in today's challenge, it's going to be these rather. So hold on, I'm going to resize some windows. So I definitely want to be able to fill in my information without having to shuffle everything around. So I'm going to put this in its own tab right here. And the rest of this I'm going to put over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this smaller. And I'm going to start editing this page. Where's the edit button? Here it is. Okay, this is a bit cramped, but I guess we're gonna have to deal with this. We're just gonna have to deal with it. Okay, so first of all, what I'd like to do, is to go to the Wikipedia. I know everybody says that everything on Wikipedia is kind of unverified, but a lot of people use Wikipedia as a reliable source of information, and they certainly do a lot of fact-checking over at Wikipedia as well. So the first topic is the Colonial Pipeline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search that up. Colonial Pipeline. Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack. Okay, so I'm going to make this slightly smaller. So the blurb here says, on May 7th, 2021, Colonial Pipeline, an American oil pipeline system that originates in Houston, Texas, and carries gasoline and jet fuel mainly to the southeastern United States, suffered a ransomware cyber attack that impacted computerized equipment managing the pipeline. So let's answer the first question over here. What happened? Colonial Pipeline, pipeline system that originates in Houston, Texas. And jet fuel mainly. Suffered a ransomware cyber attack. Okay, so if this is what happened, so let's keep on reading. Colonial Pipeline halted all pipeline operations to contain the attack. Overseen by the FBI, the company paid the amount that was asked by the the company paid the amount that was asked by the hacker group, which was 75 Bitcoin, or 4.4 million USD, within several hours. Upon receipt of the ransom, an IT tool was provided to the Colonial Pipeline Company by DarkSide to restore the system. However, the tool took a very long processing time to restore the system to a working state. Okay, so this answers a bunch of the questions that we wanted to answer over here. So who was the target of the attack? It was Colonial Pipeline Company. So we have this question right here. Was the hacker identified? How confident are we of attribution? Okay. So it said in the article that the DarkSide ransomware gang took credit for the attack. And how confident are we of attribution? So we can never be completely sure of attribution for these cyber attacks, but since this ransomware gang took credit for it, we can be fairly certain that that they are the ones who did it. So the gang took credit, so we can be fairly certain. Okay, so everybody, how's the volume for the music? If anybody thinks that the music is too loud or too soft, let me know and I'll try to adjust the volume of the music. Okay, so the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration issued a regional emergency declaration for 17 states and Washington, D.C. to keep fuel supply lines open on May 9th. It was the largest cyber attack on an oil infrastructure target in the history of the United States. Okay, so this is one of the questions we want to answer. What makes this hack famous? So it says here that it was the largest cyber attack Okay, so that's another question that we have down. So on June 7th, the Department of Justice announced that it recovered 63.7 of the Bitcoins. So about 84% of the original payment from the ransom payment. Okay, so we could say that this was part of the response. DOJ announced that it recovered 63.7 of the Bitcoins which is 84% of the original amount. This was one of the first high-profile corporate cyber attacks, which started from a breached employee personal password, likely found on the dark web, rather than a direct attack on the company's systems. Okay, so it says here, so this started from a breached employee personal password. So this is another question we want to answer, which is, how was the target initially compromised? What other hacking methods were employed? So this says that an employee password was likely found on the dark web and used to breach the company. Okay, so of course this is all information we're getting from the first few paragraphs of this article right here. We're going to be checking some other articles and some other sources just to see if they don't say anything that is contradictory to this article over here. So we're going to try to not just rely on one source for information. So the pipeline managed by Colonial Pipeline Company carries gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel from Texas to as far away as New York. About 55% of all fuel consumed on the East Coast arrives via the pipeline system. The attack came amid growing concerns of vulnerability of infrastructure, including critical infrastructure, to cyber attacks after several high-profile attacks, including the 2020 SolarWinds hack that hit multiple federal government agencies, including the Defense, Treasury, State, and Homeland Security departments. Okay. So let's read about what was impacted over here. Primary target of the attack was the billing infrastructure of the company. The actual oil pumping systems were still able to work. The inability to bill the customers was the reason for halting the pipeline operation. Okay. So over here, what was the impact of the hack? It says we need to take this down. Target was the billing. Okay, I'm not feeling this track. I'm going to skip it. Okay, so I guess, so what was the impact? The primary target was the billing infrastructure of the company. This meant that the company was unable to accept payments from customers, which probably prompted the pay of the ransom to the ransomware gang. Alright, so the day after the attack, Colonial could not confirm at the time when the pipeline would resume normal functions. The attackers also stole 100 gigabytes of data and threatened to release it on the internet if the ransom was not paid. Okay. So they stole 100 gigabytes of data and threatened to release it. Okay, so here we should probably take note of some of the dates over here. So May 7th, 2021. So does anybody in chat remember hearing about this hack when it happened? If so, let us know what you heard when it was happening. So I must have... When was the hack discovered? Okay. So May 7th, 2021. Within hours after the attack, the company paid a ransom of nearly 75 bitcoins. So where should we put this in our report? The company paid the ransom of 75 Bitcoin within hours of the attack. What is this music? Okay, on May 9th, Colonial stated that they plan to substantially repair and restore the pipeline's operations by the end of the week. So in response to fuel shortages caused by the pipeline shutdown, American Airlines changed flight schedules temporarily. At least 2 flights had fuel stops or plane changes added to their schedules for a 4-day period. Okay, so that I remember when this was going on, that there were a lot of news stories of people kind of freaking out to the news of this attack. They thought that gas stations would no longer be able to supply gas for their cars, and there were even stories where people were filling up plastic bags with gasoline in order to hoard gasoline for their cars, which seems kind of crazy to me. But who is this gang over here? It's DarkSide. DarkSide is kind of a famous cyber criminal hacking group, and we might talk about them at a later point if these kind of segments are popular. Alright, so US President Joe Biden declared a state of emergency. During regular times, there were limits on the amount of petroleum products that could be transported by road, rail, etc. domestically within the United States mainland. However, with the declaration in place, these were temporarily suspended. The Department of State issued a statement that a $10 million reward would be given out in the case of information leading to the arrest of DarkSide members. Okay, so how long do we think the hackers were operating before the hack was discovered? We don't know this. We don't know this yet from this article. We might be looking at some other articles. So DarkSide released a statement on May 9th that did not directly mention the attack, but claimed that our goal is to make money and not create problems for society. And that was that the day of the attack? The day of the attack was May 7th, 2021. So the pipeline restart happened on May 12th. So this attack happened on May 7th, and by May 12th they restarted the pipeline, which is how many days? That's 5 days. Oh, it says ending a 6-day shutdown. All right. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Joseph Blount, said why he ultimately decided to pay a $4.4 million ransom to hackers who breached the company's systems. It was the right thing to do for the country. He also said, I know that's a highly controversial decision. So everybody, do you think it's right or ethical for companies to pay out ransoms to ransomware if their company is ransomware? I guess if we suppose that the ransomware situation completely inhibits your ability to do business, is it within your best interest to pay huge ransoms to hackers in order to get your business up and running again, or do you not negotiate with terrorists, as the saying goes? All right, so Biden said on May 10th that there was no evidence that the Russian government was responsible for the attack. There was evidence that the dark side group is in Russia, and that thus Russian authorities have some responsibility to deal with this. Independent cybersecurity researchers also stated the hacking group is Russian, as their malware avoids encrypting files in a system where the language is set to Russian. So this is another important thing to note right here, is that there have been a few different cases of ransomware or other malware that shuts off if the computer system that they're running on has the Russian language pack enabled on their system. So if you're running a Windows system and the Windows operating system language is set to Russian, then certain types of malware are going to shut down and not function on those systems. And this is a tactic that malware developers operating out of Russia would use, so that they don't run afoul of the Russian government. So that's interesting. Partial ransom recovery. So as it was stated above in the article over there, so it said that they were able to seize 63.7 of the bitcoins from the original ransom payment, which means although the value of the recovered bitcoins was only 2.3 million, because the trading price of Bitcoin had fallen since the date of the ransom payment. That's okay. All right, so that's the information we got from the Wikipedia article. Let's take a look at a couple of other articles. I saw an interesting one on another website when I was Googling for this. So there's this one over here for Tech Target, Colonial Pipeline Hack Explained. And this was published in April of 2021, which means that it was published about a year after the actual hack took place. So let's make this text a little bit bigger. So shutdown affected consumers and airlines along the East Coast. The hack was deemed a national security threat as the pipeline moves oils from refineries to industry markets. This caused President Joe Biden to declare a state of emergency. The Colonial Pipeline is one of the largest and most vital oil pipelines in the U.S. It began in 1960. Okay, so this is background information. What is the hack? The largest publicly disclosed cyber attack against critical infrastructure in the US. So this is the largest cyber attack on an oil infrastructure target in the history of the USA. This is about the same. Okay. The attack involved multiple stages against the Colonial Pipeline IT systems. The pipeline's operational technology systems that actually move oil were not directly compromised during the attack. So the attack began when the hacker group identified its dark side accessed the Colonial Pipeline network. They stole 100 gigabytes of data within a 2-hour window. Following the data theft, the attackers infected the Colonial IT network with ransomware that affected many computer systems including billing and accounting. So we've got a link to a YouTube video over here. I'm going to copy the link URL and provide it to anybody in chat who's interested in watching this. And I will also include this in media. So what was the root cause of the Colonial Pipeline attack? Attackers got into the Colonial Pipeline network through an exposed password for a VPN account. Okay, exposed password for a VPN account. Let's note this in our article over here. So the previous information was from Wikipedia, and this source we're going to call TechTarget. And what they say is, obtain exposed password for VPN account. Senior Vice President and CTO at a cybersecurity firm, Mandiant, during a hearing before a House Committee on Homeland Security on June 8th. Okay, so this is another interesting tidbit right here. So it mentions Mandiant. So we've previously been talking about famous cybersecurity companies, and so Mandiant is one of the biggest ones. So Mandiant does a lot of incident response as well as digital forensics. So I suspect that well, I guess this indicates that Mandiant was covering this particular case. Let's note that down. Which cybersecurity company handled this case? And I'm going to say Mandiant. We also got this from TechTarget. Okay, so a good thing about this article over here is that it's got a timeline over here that talks about what happened in what order. So May 6th, it says May 6th was the initial intrusion and data theft. So let's note that down. So how long do we think the hackers were operating before the attack was discovered? So they say that it was about a day. Okay, so ransomware attack begins. Colonial Pipeline becomes aware of the breach. Security firm Mandiant called in to investigate and respond to the attack. Law enforcement and federal government authorities notified of the attack. Pipeline taken offline to reduce risk to the operational network. And on the same day, within a few hours, okay, so Colonial Pipeline pays ransom of 75 bitcoins. Emergency declaration by President Joe Biden. Pipeline restarted. Okay, so on May 7th, they pay the ransom. May 12th, the pipeline restarts and normal operations are resumed. That was about 6 days, as indicated by the article. But it takes about a month. About a month later, the Department of Justice recovers 63.7 bitcoins, approximately $2.3 million from the attackers. Okay, so this is another thing to note about Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is not anonymous, and because Bitcoin is not anonymous, there are certain ways to track Bitcoin and identify the owners of Bitcoin wallets. This is why it is possible to retrieve Bitcoin that has been used in ransomware payments. So Colonial Pipeline hackers were identified as a group known as DarkSide. As part of the ransomware attack, attackers make a ransom demand, which is how they reveal themselves. If they don't ask for ransom, they won't get paid. So DarkSide had to reveal themselves because they had to talk with the Colonial Pipeline company, whose files they encrypted, and they had to negotiate payment in order to unlock the files. DarkSide's first publicly reported activity was in August 2020, when it began a malicious campaign of infecting victims with ransomware. They're thought to be operating out of Eastern Europe or Russia, although there's no confirmed link with any nation-state sponsored activity. The Russian government has also denied involvement with DarkSide or the pipeline operator attack. So one of the primary ways that DarkSide operates is with a ransomware as a service, RAAS model. With ransomware as a service, DarkSide provides its ransomware capabilities to other threat actors, instead of other threat actors developing their own ransomware. There's so many weird tracks on this playlist. I think I'm going to switch playlists. Hold on a second. Let's listen to some jazz. That's better. Okay, so there was a Colonial Pipeline attack highlights need for software bill of materials. So industry and government set out to find ways to mitigate or prevent further incidents from happening in the future. In supply chain attacks, such as the one that affected Colonial Pipeline, it is a vulnerable component that is in use somewhere within an organization's infrastructure that is the root attack vector, and is often a challenge for large organizations to know what's inside of all the applications that are in use, and if there are software dependencies that could include known vulnerabilities. So we've been talking about this a lot in cybersecurity these days. So another really big example of supply chain attack is the SolarWinds hack. So I'm not going to talk a lot about the SolarWinds hack, but the SolarWinds hack was a very famous example of supply chain compromise. So the companies that used the SolarWinds software were the targets of ransomware because they used SolarWinds software, and because somebody got into the SolarWinds company, somebody breached the SolarWinds company, and so they were able to infect the software through updates. So, and when the companies updated their SolarWinds software, that's how they let the hackers into their network. So there's a lot of this is becoming a very common theme in big cybersecurity attacks. Okay, so this is so that was this. So let's try asking ChatGPT some specific questions about this Colonial Pipeline attack and see if it gives us some different answers. So the great thing about ChatGPT is that I can ask it specific questions, and we don't have to go through a whole article. So, for example, I wasn't able to get the answer to this question is, what is this hacker doing now? Did they engage in other known hacks? Okay, so DarkSide was the ransomware gang associated with the Colonial Pipeline attack. Were they ever caught or punished for this hack? Okay, so DarkSide faced significant challenges. There were no reports indicating that all members were caught or punished. So this question right here, was the hacker punished? No, they were not punished. Nor were they caught. Okay, so seizure of funds. Okay, they were able to get some of the ransomware back from the Colonial Pipeline ransomware payment. DarkSide claimed to have lost access to their servers and some of their funds following the attack on Colonial Pipeline. They announced they would be shutting down their operations. Okay, so it says international effects. The attack led to heightened international cooperation in combating ransomware. The Biden administration held discussions with Russia, where many ransomware groups are believed to operate, urging them to take action against such groups. While these actions significantly disrupted DarkSide's operations, there were no definitive reports of the gang's leaders or members being arrested or facing direct legal punishment. Okay, let's ask a follow-up question. Is the DarkSide ransomware gang still in operation currently? The official officially announced their shutdown in May 2021 after Colonial Pipeline attack due to pressure from law enforcement and loss of their infrastructure and funds. Okay? As of now, there is no specific indication that DarkSide, under its original name, is still in operation. DarkSide shut down operations in May 2021 after the attack, after the Colonial Pipeline attack. Did they engage in other known hacks? This is a question we need to ask. What other large cyber attacks did DarkSide engage in? Okay, so before the attack, DarkSide was involved in several other significant cyber attacks. Energy sector companies, financial service and insurance companies, manufacturing industrial firms, retail and consumer services. Specific details of many of these attacks were not always publicly disclosed due to the sensitive nature of the incidents and victims' preference for confidentiality. However, it is well documented that DarkSide had a pattern of targeting large, financially robust organizations across various sectors to maximize their ransom demands and payouts. Okay, so they seem to have engaged in similar attacks across a wide variety of industries and targets. Okay. And we got this from ChatGPT. ChatGPT, we're going to say that's and let's see. So one more question I want to ask is this one right here. What lessons can be learned from the Colonial Pipeline attack in 2021. Okay, importance of cyber resilience, network segmentation, regular software updates and patch management, employee training and awareness, supply chain security. Okay, well this is a lot, so I'm gonna pick some stuff out of here. So I think network segmentation is probably. I'm going to start a little bullet list. So I'm going to say network segmentation is something that that can be learned from this, as well as employee training and awareness. So I say that this is a very important thing to learn in this case, because it was reported that an employee's password got leaked, and that's how the ransomware gang was able to initially compromise the network. So I guess enhanced monitoring and detection is another big thing we should note here. As well as supply chain security. So the last thing I want to answer before we move on to the next target is, so I want to ask ChatGPT what the vector of initial compromise was for this attack. The initial compromise in Colonial Pipeline attack was attributed to a compromised password for a VPN account. This account allowed remote access to Colonial Pipeline's network and was not protected by multi-factor authentication. Okay, so the fact that there was no MFA on this account was another big screw up as far as the security for these accounts was concerned. So I'm going to note that down. Importance of MFA on secure accounts. So there's a compromised password for the VPN account. The exact method of how the password was compromised is not entirely clear. Lack of multi-factor authentication, remote access. Okay. All right, so if you have any questions about any of the details from this particular hack, while we're still here, we could always ask or search for any of these details. Otherwise, we're going to be moving on to our second target of the day, and that's going to be the SAMI worm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this out. Commit the changes, and I'm going to leave the link for this particular file in the chat just in case you want to take a look at it. And we're going to move on to our second target in hacking history. This is going to be the SAMI worm. Okay, and we're going to edit this file. So as usual, let's get our initial information from. Let me clean up my tabs a little bit. Let's head over to Wikipedia and ask over there. SAMI worm. SAMI, the computer worm. So this is a throwback, because this happened quite a while ago. So this is SAMI, otherwise known as js.spacehero. It's a cross-site scripting worm, an XSS worm, that was designed to propagate across social networking site MySpace by Sami Kamkar. So Sami Kamkar is he's a very well-known figure in the cybersecurity scene, and so as that implies, he was able to reform and not be a malicious hacker after he was caught for this particular hack. So let's go over this. So this was a cross-site scripting worm that was able to propagate across the social networking site MySpace by Sami Kamkar within just 20 hours of its October 4th, 2005 release. Over 1 million users had run the payload, making Sami the fastest spreading virus of all time. So fastest spreading virus of all time. Fastest spreading virus of all time. One million infections within 20 hours. And we got this from Wikipedia. So the worm itself was relatively harmless. It carried a payload that would display the string, but most of all, Sami is my hero on a victim's MySpace profile page, as well as send Sami a friend request. When a user viewed that profile page, the payload would then be replicated and planted on their own profile page, continuing the distribution of the worm. MySpace has since secured its site against this vulnerability. Okay, so what did this Sami worm do? So this was a hack that was done through cross-site scripting, which is a type of injection vulnerability. So what Sami was able to do was put JavaScript code on his own MySpace profile page, and when people visited the page, it would copy the malicious code, and over to their own profile page, as well as send Sami a friend request. And then anybody who visited the infected page, the newly infected page, would also be infected. And anybody visiting that page of the next person would also be infected, and that's how the malware spread itself. And that is the definition of a malware worm, which is a type of malware that is able to replicate and spread itself. All right, so let's start answering some of these questions. So what happened? So Sami Kamkar, a MySpace user, included some malicious code on his MySpace profile page, which infected any user who visited his page and spread the malicious code to their own profile page, and which led to mass spread of the malware. Okay, and when was the hack discovered? Okay, so if anybody knows, this malware was detected almost immediately, because within 20 hours of being introduced to MySpace, it infected 1 million users. So we're gonna say very quickly. When was the hack discovered? Within hours of being uploaded to MySpace. Well, maybe not hours. Within a day or two of being uploaded to MySpace. Okay. So how long do we think hackers were operating before the hack was discovered? Not very long. The effects of the malware became quite apparent very quickly. Who was the target of the attack? The MySpace website. Okay, next. How was the target initially compromised? What other hacking methods were employed? Okay, so in this case, the MySpace website was compromised through the code that was introduced through Sammy. And that was the vector of initial compromise. The target was compromised through introduction of cross-site scripting, XSS, of XSS code into the MySpace profile page. Okay? What was the impact of the hack? Okay, so we're going to go over the impact of the hack in just a bit. So, there's not very much on this Wikipedia page. So, Sammy Kamkar was raided by the United States Secret Service and Electronic Crimes Task Force in 2006 for releasing the worm. He entered a plea agreement to a felony charge. The action resulted in Kamkar being sentenced to 3 years probation with only one computer and no access to the internet for life. This provision was later struck off by a judge. 90 days community service. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the impact of this for Sammy Kamkar, and we're going to record this. So, was the hacker identified? Was a hacker identified? How confident are we of attribution? Okay, so Sammy Kamkar was identified as the author of the malware. How confident are we of attribution? We are very confident of attribution for this hack. Was the hacker punished? If so, how? The hacker was punished. They received what? Sentenced to 3 years probation. They were sentenced to 3 years probation with only one computer and no access to internet for life. Later rescinded. "90 days community service." And what is that? $15,000? $15,000 to $20,000 in restitution. As well as a 20-year suspended prison sentence. Okay, and all of this was from Wikipedia. Let's do a little more digging on this because I'm pretty sure there are more details about this that we want to answer. What was the impact of the hack? I'm pretty sure that the MySpace website was completely shut down for a period of time. But let's ask ChatGPT about this. What was the impact of the Sammy worm on MySpace? Okay, so it was rapidly spread. That much was apparent because everybody who visited pages were able to spread the worm to their own profile pages, and everybody who visited their profile page was also infected. Profile defacement. Most of all, Sammy is my hero. So one of the reasons people were able to attribute it so easily to Sammy Campcar after this happened was because this little message was copied over to their profile. So the defacement was not malicious in the traditional sense. So what we have to understand is that this person, Sammy Campcar, didn't do this to be malicious. They just wanted to have some fun, I guess is what they're trying to do. So exploitation of MySpace security flaws, temporary shutdown. Okay, so MySpace had to temporarily shut down to address the worm. This included disabling certain features and cleaning infected profiles. Okay, that was what I wanted for the answer. So MySpace shut down to address the worm, including disabling features and cleaning infected profiles. All right. Okay, so this question right here. What is this hacker doing now? Did they engage in other known hacks? Okay, so Sammy Campcar, I think he has his own entry on Wikipedia over here. So if we take a look at Sammy Campcar, so he's an American privacy and security researcher, computer hacker, and entrepreneur. So he did the Sammy worm. And I think after that he became a security researcher who's done a bunch of research about different cybersecurity topics. So let's go back up to the top. Okay. All right. So let's ask ChatGPT what Sammy Campcar is up to these days. What happened to Sammy Campcar after the Sammy worm and his? Oh, what did he get? And his probation. Okay, continued to be active in the field of cybersecurity, but shifted his focus towards ethical hacking and security research. So what we have to understand about Sammy Campcar is he's one of these black hat to white hat kind of stories. So after he was caught for hacking, he decided to become a security researcher, which means that he started using his knowledge. He started using his knowledge for good as opposed to evil. Okay, transition to ethical hacking, public speaking. So let's, Sammy Kamkar is currently a cybersecurity researcher and has what is the word? Engaged in many public speaking engagements and has participated. Okay. So let's take a look at some of these security projects. So this is EverCookie. So he created EverCookie, a JavaScript-based application that produces extremely persistent cookies in a web browser. The project demonstrated how difficult it could be to remove tracking cookies and raise awareness about online privacy issues. So what I'm trying to illustrate here is that Sammy's a good guy now, and although it was very amusing that he was able to crash MySpace by creating a self-replicating cross-site scripting worm. It's very amusing that he decided to turn a new leaf after doing this. So what was the response to this hack? I guess we could say that MySpace moved to... Oh, you know what? One of the questions we haven't answered is how he was identified. I guess it's kind of obvious, but how was Sammy Kamkar identified as the responsible party for the Sammy worm? Okay, so a combination of digital forensics, MySpace's internal investigation, and Kamkar's own actions. IP address tracking. Okay, this is kind of funny. The investigation tracked IP addresses associated with creation and distribution of the worm. This led them to Kamkar's home computer. So this is why you don't do bad stuff from your computer, because they can track your IP address. Also, the worm embedded the phrase, but most of all, Sammy is my hero, in infected profiles, which directly pointed to the creator's name, Sammy, and that's provided a crucial clue in the investigations. Okay, so are there any questions that we haven't answered here? Lessons learned. So what big lessons were learned from the Sammy worm incident? Okay, so cross-site scripting is it's still an issue on modern web applications. This kind of vulnerability still exists, but I guess this incident really emphasized the need to address these kind of problems. So let's list this as a lesson learned in this case. Importance of XSS prevention. Importance of user input handling. So input handling is talking about how applications should handle what users input into the web application. In this case, the MySpace profile page let people write pretty much whatever they wanted to, and they didn't check that the contents of whatever the users were submitting to their MySpace profile page was or could be used or interpreted as code for the web application to run. So, and if the MySpace web application had been watching out for this kind of cross-site scripting code, then this whole incident would have been avoided. But that was not the case. Secure coding practices, regular audits, impact of rapid worm propagation, exponential speed. So illustration of exponential, how do you spell that? Speed of rapid worm propagation. Okay. All right. So I think that's it for this particular target. I'm going to save this out, commit the changes. So if anybody is interested in taking a look at this document that we wrote up for this hack here, please look in the chat. There is a link there that I've just pasted into chat for everybody. And we're going to be closing out today's stream, but thank you to everybody who decided to come by and watch today. We had a lot of fun writing up some scripts for Python, as well as doing research on a couple of big hacks, those being the Colonial Pipeline hack and the Sammy worm on MySpace. We're going to be doing another stream on Friday, and let's take a look at the schedule for that. So on the HackerFrogs Reddit, there's going to be a thread with the, what is this? Okay. There's going to be a thread for the streaming schedule each week. We're currently in week 27, and each week we're going to publish a schedule for the week. Currently, we do streams on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and each stream is going to have a primary topic as well as a secondary topic. So today's primary topic was Python programming, and our secondary topic was hacking history. But on Friday, we're going to be starting at a different time. We're going to be starting at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and going until 11 p.m. Sorry, we're just going to be starting at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be doing our Hack the Box walkthrough. This week's walkthrough is going to be the Hack the Box starting point tier 2 machine called Vaccine. That's going to be a fun time. We're going to be compromising that target and explaining what we're doing as we do so. It's great for people who are beginners to network hacking, and we'll be explaining all of the steps required to compromise that machine. As well, after that, we're going to be talking about Hack the Culture. We're going to be doing a dive into the world of cybersecurity content creators. So we're going to be talking about all of our favorite cybersecurity content creators and the type of stuff that they make. That's probably going to be a shorter segment. I suspect that the Hack the Box walkthrough is going to take up the majority of the stream. But please come by on Friday if you're interested in any of these two topics. Otherwise, we're going to be starting our new course on web app hacking on Monday. I'll probably be posting a synopsis of the web app hacking course that we're going to be starting on Monday pretty soon. Please watch out for that. But to everybody who came by, thank you very much, and we'll catch you next time. HackerFrogs out.
Mr. Hat, may I please be excused from class?
Well, Carl,
Yes.
you hear me? You go to...
Hack.
You go to...
Hack.
You do...
Have a great day.
What are you?
I'm system root.